Welcome back, Cat 37 surfacing class. We're going to start covering the operations tutorials. Okay, so hopefully you've already done the wireframe and surfacing tutorials. So we're going to go over the operations tutorials. And then after this, once you complete these tutorials, you should be ready to work on your final project. All right, so you can either go straight to the tutorial. Our first tutorial is joining. You can either copy and paste this link and it'll take you straight to joining. Or if you want to go the long way, you can go to the generative shape design tutorials or go to the main site, the home page, right click copy and go to the internet, paste it into the browser. If it doesn't work for you using Edge or Chrome, try Internet Explorer or Firefox. One of them should work, or you can just follow along. Okay, and just a reminder, CATIA has easily over 100 workbenches, modules, or apps, whatever you want to call them. All right, so let's go into shape design. We're going to go into, so all we have to do is hover over shape design, go to generative shape design. Okay, we can slide the window, left mouse click and hold to slide the window down. Okay, so we've covered a lot of the wireframe tutorials. Not all of them, most of them. Same thing with surfaces. We haven't covered all of these. Later on, I will come back and cover some of these others that we skipped. I'm not going to assign any homework to it, but I'll go over some of the ones that are very important to know. Okay, so now we are in the operations, performing operations on shape geometry. So we're going to do the joining surfaces or curves, right? Once we click on it, it'll load the tutorial here at the bottom window pane. So go to joining, it'll load it up, right? Or an option is to just right click on joining surfaces or curves and open in a separate tab. So you don't have to worry about sliding the window up and down. Go to that tab. Okay, so here we have joining. Okay, I already have CATIA open, so I'm just going to simply download the file. Click. And I'm going to go ahead and open the file. Okay, so here's the tutorial. Okay, so let's go back. Read the instructions. Okay, so we're going to join surfaces. Okay, we're going to join these two surfaces and we're going to analyze it. Here's what I was looking for. We're going to analyze the surface. We're going to join it first and then do an analysis, quick analysis. All right, so let's go back. Okay, so let me insert my own geo set. And okay. Okay, so I'm going to join these two surfaces, but one thing I do want you to notice that when we join them, notice how there's a break on the reflection lines. See how the reflection lines breaks? That tells me we don't have tangent continuity nor curvature continuity, right? We're going to have a point continuity once we join them. Okay, so it's hard to see, but this is actually a sharp edge. So it's like a crease on a sheet of paper once we join these two surfaces. Currently, they are two separate surfaces. Okay, so let's go ahead and join these two surfaces using the join command. Okay, so here's the toolbar we're going to be using. I'm going to left mouse click, hold, and hit the shift key on the keyboard so I can change the orientation. Okay, so in the next tutorials, we're going to be covering these commands. All right, so let's go to the notes. So we'll be, maybe in the following week, in about a week, I'll send you all these lecture notes and I'm going to do a review, hopefully to help you with your final project. Okay, so I will provide all the lecture notes and a quick review. Typically, I do this first in class, but since we're doing everything online, I'd rather have you have all the work on the handouts and tutorials first. And then we can do a review of all the commands and some additional commands that we don't have assignments for. We'll come back to this in a later video. All right, so we're going to use the operations toolbar. In this video, we're going to do the joining. So we're going to join two surfaces. And here it'll check for any breaks, if there's any gaps. Hey, do you want to check for tangency, which is G1, and so on. You can also have a merging distance. If there's any little gaps, you can have it close it off. You just have to set a parameter of how much of a gap you're willing to close off. If it's too large of a gap, you don't want CATIA to auto fill those areas. All right, so let's go ahead and go into the join command. Okay, so we're going to join these two surfaces. Okay, so let's hit join. And I'm going to select the two surfaces. Okay, I'm going to hit preview. Okay, so I've joined the two surfaces and I'm going to hit OK. You may get error messages depending on what options you have turned on. So I'm going to hit OK and accept it. If you get an error message, don't panic. We'll come back and fix it. And OK. Okay, so it's been joined. By the way, there's a curve here that's shown. Oh, this parallel curve that was used to create the two surfaces, the original ones. Let me hide this curve. There it is. Okay, so we've joined the two surfaces. And if I right-click properties, or my mistake, right-click parents / children, if I right-click, it gives you a history of who the parents are. So you have knowledge of self here, right? This new surface, this vanilla color surface, you can tell. So I can zoom in and out in here. These are the parents. So we did a join of extrude 3 and extrude 4. These are the parents. And the join is the dependent. That's the child of these two parents, right? So this is just to see a history, a family tree of how this part was made. If you want to know how was parent extrude number 3 created, you want to know your grandparents, right? I think just by simply double-clicking, left mouse, click, double-click, it'll show you the parents of extrude number 3. Hey, it was a parallel curve normal to the XY plane that was used to extrude surface number 3, and they're hidden. As you can see, they're shaded. I can always right-click and show. Hey, show me that curve, or I can say right-click, show me that plane for direction. Same thing with extrude 4 if I double click on it. Okay, so extrude 3 tells you, hey, for extrude 3 it use a line. Let me see if I can zoom in. Having trouble seeing all the family tree connections. Okay, so extrude number 4. Same parallel curve was used to extrude a surface using the line as direction. For extrude 3, it was the same parallel curve using the XY plane for direction. Okay, so you can see a history of how all this was made. You look at parallel 1 curve, double click, shows you, hey, parallel curve number 1, its parent is sketch 1. So this is a family tree, right? You see the grandparent, great-grandparents, grandparents, parents, children, right? Okay, so you can see all the history here. Sorry, I got off topic. Let me cancel this, but it's good to know in case you ever need to go back and make some changes. All right, so we have our surface. Now the original surface, extrude 3 and 4, right? The parents are in the background. So I can always click on the show, no show layer. There they are in the background. Okay, so we have extrude 4, extrude 3, and let me go back to the show layer. Okay, so we've joined these two surfaces, and now it's one entity. Okay, so this is join 1, and it's one entity. All right, so I want you to notice once again, it's not tangent continuous, G1. It's neither a G2, curvature continuous. This is a G0, meaning you have a sharp crease on the surface. So this is a G0 continuity. And we can tell by the reflection lines. See how the reflection lines break? It doesn't continue on. That tells us that we don't have G1, tangent continuity, nor G2, curvature continuity, or G3, curvature continuity with equal radii, and I believe rates. Let me go back to the notes in case you forgot what continuity is. And same here, sometimes I need to go back and refresh. Okay, so curvature continuity, right? We have the radius equal the radius, and the rates of the radius are equal on both sides. Then we have G3. Don't forget C is for curves, G is for surfaces. Okay, so we don't have either G3 curvature continuity nor G2 continuity, curvature continuity, nor G1 tangent continuity, but we do have a sharp corner. Again, C0 is for curves. For us, our surface is G0, right? The continuity for the surface is only point, meaning it's connected. Okay, so let's go back. Now, most of the times when you join two surfaces, most of the time you want a smooth transition from one surface to another. You can either fix this or you can add a fillet. Okay, so if you have a sharp edge, we can always use a fillet or blend command. So it'll be a smoother transition from one surface to another. Okay. All right, so let's go back and double click on join one. I'm going to double click on it. Notice how it lights up in green. So any edges will light up in green, or any gaps. If there was a gap somewhere in here, it'll show it in green. Okay, so once again, if there's a gap in here, if you see a little bit of green inside the surface, that means there's a gap or an overlap of surfaces, which is not good, and you have to clean that up. All right, let's take a look at check connectivity. So it checks that the two surfaces are connected. So it's checking if there was a gap between the surfaces. Let's say there was a gap running all the way along. It would turn red and tell us, hey, we checked the connectivity. The two surfaces are not touching. Okay, so in this case, they are touching, so we didn't get any red error messages. Check manifold. That's if the surfaces are overlapping each other, which we don't want either. We don't want any overlapping. We don't want any gaps between the surfaces, at least 99% of the time, unless it's intentional. And in most cases, we want tangency. So, hey, I want to check tangency. I want to see if I have G1 tangency and continuity. So if you turn this on and hit preview, see, it's going to give you that error message. Hey, error. So it's telling us, hey, you have nice continuity on the surface and on this surface, but at the seam, you don't have tangency continuity. We don't have G1. We have G0, right? Connectivity, continuity, but not G1 tangency continuity. So, okay, we said, all right, we acknowledge the error. Okay. So we can turn this off. If we want, we can simplify the result. It'll clean it up a little bit. That's an option you have. Also, if there's any gaps, if there's any openings between the two surfaces, any gaps, little gaps, you can adjust how much of an opening you're willing to close off. So any gaps inside that's 0.001 millimeters in space or gap or smaller, it'll close it up for you. So if there is a little gap, as long as it's 0.001 or smaller in gap size, it'll close it up. It will heal it for you. You always want to go back and check that it does give you a nice result. All right, another thing to point out is this red arrow. I know it's hard to see, but there's a red arrow here. And you're wondering, what is this red arrow doing here? That defines your orientation. So think of it as like, hey, where's the inside? Where's the outside? So this red arrow defines orientation. Hey, which is the inside? Which is the outside? You can always flip it to reverse the orientation. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off the, well, I already have tangency off. And okay. And it'll accept it. Okay, there it is. All right, let's go back to the tutorial. Okay, so we already covered this area. Again, I did mention the red arrow. Now, it wasn't a big deal for us here, but it is later on. If this joint surface later on has children, right? Dependents, children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and so on. Sometimes when you make a change, in this case to the join, if you were to make a change, sometimes this orientation arrow may flip on you, which will then cause your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren to get confused. Okay, so it might cause some confusion, and you'll get error messages. The child, let's say you drew a line normal to this point going in this direction, and I was trying to flip over because the orientation of the surface changed. So once again, let's say we were to create a line normal at this corner, normal to this surface. If you were to draw a line using the line command, and this somehow ends up flipping because you made a change, if the orientation flips, this line is going to flip on you, and maybe that's something you may not want. So it may accept the new orientation if it flips on you, or it may not be able to perform the operation. So some of your children may accept it, others will reject it, turning red on you. So you may have to go in there and change the orientation, flip it back to where it's supposed to be. Okay, so be aware of that. So again, it'll happen down the line if you make a change and the children and grandchildren get confused and don't know which direction to go. All right, so let's continue on. Again, checks for connection between, in this case, the two surfaces. If they're not touching, they're not connecting, it'll give you an error message. If you turn on the check tangency option, as I demonstrated, it showed us, hey, there's no smooth transition with respect to G1 tangency. So it gave us the error message of where that error was at, right? All right, so also you can remove patches. In this one, we only had two, right? 2 patches. But if you get an error message, and sometimes you have multiple patches, let's say you have 10 patches, there's some that you can remove. You can go to the remove window, and you can remove patches that you didn't want anyway, and you can just refill it. When you work in a car studio department and you're patching things up to clean up the surfaces, there may be patches that don't come out the way you want them to. You can always go into the sub elements to remove, click and remove some of the patches, and then go back and clean it up. It's almost like adding Bondo, right? Like you're welding 2 pieces together. Let's say you're working on an old Chevy or Mustang or an old car, right? And there's some rusted areas on the body of the vehicle. So you want to cut off that portion and form a new piece of sheet metal and weld it on there. And then you want to go in and clean it up, or maybe even Bondo it, right? So it is very common to go in and fix a bad area as far as the surfaces, remove the bad area, again, like cutting off old rusted pieces. And you're going to have to go in there and recreate a new piece, right? It's almost like once again, upgrading a body in a vehicle, or maybe fixing something on a shirt or a dress. Maybe there's an area that got torn and you want to go in there and patch that area, and you're trying to clean it up so it looks smooth. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Joint Cat Part 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up this one. Next file. Let's go ahead and open this one. All right, so looks like some type of instrument. I don't know what it is. Right, it can be a guitar, right, or something else. Don't know exactly what this is supposed to be. Maybe a center console. All right, so let's go ahead and open this up. So we have all these surfaces. I want you to notice that we have red lightning bolts through each one. So I click on the white branches of the tree so I can zoom in and out. To get out of it, just click on the white branch or click on this little white axis here in the bottom right corner. Right now we're in tree mode, so we can move the tree, we can zoom in and out, or I can click to get out of that. Click here. All right, so we're out of it. Okay, so notice the red lightning bolts. That tells us that we've lost the history, right? It's like getting bumped in the head and you lose knowledge of who you are, who your parents are, grandparents are, etc. Okay, so anytime you see a red lightning bolt, that means that surface or curve or point has lost its history. If we were to go back to the previous problem, we do have a history for these two extruded surfaces that we joined, right? Here we have the history of how it was made. We have the history of the parents, grandparents, and so on. Notice there are no red lightning bolts in this one. Okay, so if we go back to our second tutorial cat part, join number 2. Somebody modeled these surfaces and decided to get rid of the history, right? You don't have no knowledge of self of how you were created. All right, so let's go back to the instructions. Okay, so it looks like we're going to join all these surfaces. Okay, so let's go in and join all these surfaces. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit tougher because there's a lot of patches on this one. So here's what I'm going to do. Let me first insert my geoset. Oh, it's out of order. It's okay. I can right click on the top of the tree and I'm going to reorder children, reorder. And I'm going to move my geoset to the bottom. You can see it move to the bottom. And okay. All right, and let me give it color because I don't want to use the same colors as shown. Right click properties, and I'm going to change the graphic colors on the surfaces. So I'll go to the fill surface option, the first one. And let's pick something else. Pick the tan color. Brownish color, and okay. Okay, so I'm going to join all these surfaces. Okay, so the easy way to do this is to just window capture. So I'm going to left mouse click, capture all the surfaces. Let's see, hopefully I didn't catch anything else. Oh, I caught a plane. Oh, that's not good. Let me turn on my filter. Okay, I'm going to turn on my filter so I only catch surfaces, or I can select it all from here. I'm going to show you both ways. I'm going to right click on any icon and I can turn on my filters, user selection filter. Okay, so here's my user filter. Okay, and I'm going to say, hey, I only want to catch surfaces. I don't want to catch planes or axes. I'm just going to catch surfaces. So click on the surface option. Don't forget to turn it off once you're done. So now I'm going to left mouse click and hold and capture surfaces, right? All right, so then I'm going to join them. Hit join. So there's something in here that it doesn't like. Okay. Oh, let me try it again. Nope, it's not selecting it. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go the long way. Either there's too many to select in one shot. There is a limit as to how many you can load up into the window. So I'll do it the long way. Okay, so couldn't use it. Let me cancel out of this. Don't forget to turn this off. Just load it up here. Okay, so I'll do it the long way. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just select them from the tree. Yeah, there is a limit as to how many you can select in one shot. So I'm gonna, while holding on to the shift key on the keyboard, select the top surface here and roll the wheel down and select this one, right? Let me roll up. So I did this while holding on to the shift key on the keyboard and hit join. Let's see if that's not too much. Yep, it did accept it. Okay, so it did accept all the surfaces. Double check. Yep, it did accept everything from surface 2 all the way to 30. All right, so let me collapse this. Okay, as you can see, it's creating the join, and I'm going to hit preview. Okay, it seems to like it. Notice anytime you see green, that's telling me that that's an edge. If you see green inside, that tells you there's a gap or an overlap. Okay, so it seems to like everything. Let me hit OK. And there it is. It did like. I was easily able to join these surfaces now. Let's go into the background, the no-show. So here are the original surfaces in the background, as you can see. And let's go back to the view layer. Okay, everything worked fine. Okay, let's go back to the instructions. All right, so we got all the surfaces. Okay, it's telling us to pick tangency continuity. Okay, so let's go back. And I'm assuming it's going to give us some error messages. Let's double click on join one. Check for tangency continuity and preview, and we're going to get a bunch of errors. Yep, wherever we have sharp edges, it's going to give us an error message. And okay. Let's see if we can simplify the surface, the result, to clean that up. So I'm going to hit simplify, hit preview again. Yeah, it's still going to give us that error message, so I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to remove the simplify and check tangency. Okay. And okay. Actually, by the way, we can deviate from how exact these surfaces are. We can curve them a little bit by saying, hey, I want to heal. It may accept it or reject it. I want to heal the result. Hit preview. Nope, doesn't like it. Okay, so let me go ahead and turn this off, and I'll just turn off check tangency, simplify result, and okay. I'll just accept the result. All right, so now let's continue on. Okay, they want us to take this and go into part design. Okay, they want us to go into part design and use pad and create this block. Let's see if we have the geometry to do this. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so I'm assuming there's a part body in here. Okay, there is a sketch, but I don't see a block. Oh, we're gonna have to create a block from that sketch. All right, so here we go. Okay, so going back, we're gonna create this block. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so this is what's cool about CATIA is that you can jump from one workbench to another. So currently we are in generative shape design. So we're gonna go into part design. So let's go to start. Go into part design. There we go, go into part design. And you'll see the commands change on you. So now we are in part design. So we're gonna create a solid out of sketch 1. Let me right click on this one. It's hard to see. Right click properties. I'll change the color. I'll make it yellow. Make it thicker so we can see it. Okay. So we have this sketch number 1, which is in part body. Reminder, if you're going to create a solid, you want to put those elements in the part body. Sketch, you can leave it in the part body or a geoset, but the solid is going to go into part body. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so we're going to do a pad up to surface. So we're going to take the sketch and we're going to do a pad up to this surface. Okay, so let's go back. All right, so before we do, I'm going to right click on part body because any solid we create, we want it to be in a part body, not in a geoset. So I'm going to right click define. So once again, right click define. Now the part body is underlined. And now we can do a pad. We're going to do a pad as sketch 1. Sketch 1, so we're going to do a pad. Okay, so I'm already getting a preview. Hit preview. Okay, so there's our solid. As you can see, we did a pad of sketch 1. But now we can say, hey, you know what? Yeah, we're doing a pad, but we want to go up to a surface. Instead of typing in a dimension, right? Instead of typing in a dimension, preview, instead of doing a dimension, we're going to go up to the surface. Okay, so instead of dimension, I'm going to say up to surface. And we can either click on our new join surface or click on the tree join number 1 up to surface and preview, and ta-da! See how it extrudes or pads up to a surface, and okay. And there it is. We can always hide our geoset. Right click hide. There's our solid. Okay. There's our pad, and we went up to join 1, right? What happened to join 1? I hit the whole geoset. So if I go to the background, no show, there it is. Okay, so this is what's cool about CATIA and other softwares, that you can jump from one module to another, or Workbench. Okay, we can always go back to generative shape design. Okay, let's go to the instructions, see if there's anything I miss here. Okay, they're asking us to modify the sketch. I'll leave this up to you if you want to modify the sketch. Okay, so I'm going to go to sketch 1, double click on sketch 1. And they're telling us to change this 25 to 10, from 25 millimeters to 10. So if I double click and go to 10, okay, it's going to shift over. Okay, and now when I exit, it's going to want to update, right? So once I exit, turns red, it's updating, it's updating, it's updating, and there's the new result, right? So the sketch was out here. Let's turn on our geoset. So the sketch was out here further outward, and the solid moved towards the right. So we got a different result. Okay, so it updated. So now this solid is depending on this brown surface, join number 1. Join number one is now the parent of this solid. And the solid, its parents is join 1 and sketch 1. Those are the parents. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to end it here. Okay, that's the end of this video. Don't forget to save your work. Okay, end of video.